Madam Speaker, the NHT continues to find innovative ways to increase access and affordability for housing for contributors. In 2024-2025, the NHT is projecting to commence construction of 15,000 housing solutions, with more than 96% of these housing solutions geared towards lower middle income to low income contributors. I want to make a point here, Madam Speaker. I want to make a point here. It is said from the opposition that the NHT is not concentrating on producing housing for low income and middle income contributors. That is not the case. The government 3 years ago gave a policy directive to the board of the NHT for the NHT to redirect its resources to focus on lower middle income to low income earners who are NHT contributors. And therefore, Madam Speaker, for the houses that the NHT is involved in its development, we are not taking on houses, Madam Speaker, where the price point is in middle and high. Madam Speaker, there are a few legacy projects which we were committed to, which we can't come out of, and those projects will continue. But we are not taking on any new project that is outside of the policy guideline for low income to lower middle income. Madam Speaker, these 15,000 houses comprise 4,309 two-bedroom solutions priced at an average below $13 million. And Madam Speaker, if you're coming to the market with $13 million, that's a reasonably very good price for a two-bedroom solution. 7,600 one-bedroom units priced at an average of $10 million. Madam Speaker, that is for the price. And Madam Speaker, we will provide 3,100 service lots priced below $4 million. Madam Speaker, I want to just read out the housing starts by parish and project for 2024-2025. For Kingston, we have JDF Housing, Rasta City, now Royal Estates, and Bay Farm Road, that's 9,666 housing solutions. Madam Speaker, for Rasta City, I am overjoyed. That's the only word I can. This is being done. Madam Speaker, this housing development was promised over and over and over again. 966. So this is the JDF Housing, the Rasta City, and Bay Farm Road. So those projects will start, and they total 966 solutions. In St. Andrew, Ruthven Road 2, 400 units. In St. Catherine, Brampton and Colbeck, phases 5 and 6, 2,842. In Clarendon, Longville Park, Penn, and Carlsberg, that's 2,277. In Manchester, Mount Nelson, 1,464 units. In St. Elizabeth, Friendship 2 and Brampton Manor 2, that's 543 units. In Westmoreland, we have Negril Spot and Chantilly, making up 1,175 units. In Hanover, we have Point, 365 units. In Trelawney, we have Dry Valley, 1,040 units. In St. James, there is Barrett Hall and Spot Valley, 1,983. In St. Mary, we have Galena, Highgate and Industry Pen, 580. In St. Thomas, there is Roselle, 660. And in all parishes, which includes build and own land, construction loan, and homeowners projects, 710. So that is, Madam Speaker, when we talk about building houses, yes, it's good to have houses concentrated in one area. We are building houses all over Jamaica, all over Jamaica. In terms of housing completions, the NHT will complete approximately 3,744 housing solutions across the island in the coming financial year, 2024-2025. And let me just repeat those. Let me say those. We have Vineyard Town, Maxfield Park, and we just said St. Paul's Lane, and that gives us 32. We have the Foreshore Project, 46. We have Silver Sun and Colbeck, 1,105. In Clarendon, we have Hummingbird Meadows, Money Musk, 333. In Manchester, Perth 2, 492. In St. Elizabeth, Brampton 102, and Malvern, that comes up to 130. Sheffield Palms in Westmoreland, 60. Winchester in Hanover, that's 120. Windsor in Trelawney, 118. In St. James, we have Irwin, Estuary 2, 524. In St. Mary, Nonsuch, that's 14. In St. Thomas, Roselle, that's 100. And in all parishes, build and own, construction loan, and open market purchases, home owners projects, 670 housing solutions, totaling 3,744. Housing completions continue to be challenged by supply chain disruptions, contractor delays, quality assurance issues, and approvals, and a big complaint, shortage of labor. Another significant challenge, as I've said, that has emerged. Therefore, in addition to the initiatives I mentioned under HEART, the NHD will provide the opportunity for their whole participants to develop their skills and experience and become certified in construction. So the NHD will build out this program in partnership with Heart Trust NSTA by creating an on-the-job training environment with their development partners, that is HEART, in provision of, and they will give them small tools and equipment, and these participants in 2 years will be certified in construction and project management. Another boost, Madam Speaker, for the labor supply of the construction sector is that the NHD will also expand its scholarship program to provide tuition at a maximum of $1 million per annum per student for up to 10 students at the tertiary level pursuing careers in civil engineering, construction management, construction technology, architecture, urban planning, and building technologies and other related fields. Madam Speaker, this is a significant program because the challenge is real, Madam Speaker, when it comes to finding the technical skills and finding the labor in construction. So, Madam Speaker, I'm very happy that the NHD is making this significant contribution to the training and education of people in the construction field. Madam Speaker, since the 2019 announcement of the scheme upgrade program for the improvement of the physical and social infrastructure of housing schemes developed by the NHD in its first 10 years of existence, the Trust has expanded the program to include government-built housing developments and schemes built after the first 10 years on a needs basis. Additionally, the inadequacy of important social infrastructure, such as early childhood facilities and health centers, has been highlighted and will be considered for support as appropriate. The funding available for the program was $4 billion. In 2023, a further $2 billion was committed to the program. To date, projects have been identified and scope of works agreed with relevant stakeholders for 99 communities. Madam Speaker, let me say that this is one of the most fulfilling projects that I have been associated with. I announced this project, Madam Speaker, because, well, Madam Speaker, as you would know, I grew up in an NHT house, in a housing scheme, and I'm well aware of which was built in the first 10 years of the NHT's inception. And many of these housing schemes, Madam Speaker, have fallen into disrepair. And so we made the allocation in 2019. And I'm pleased to say that the grant spend housing scheme in St. Andrew, yes, doing very well. $80 million was spent on upgrading that housing scheme. Except the sewage. The sewage will be done in phase 2. So that is done. Very important. The Charlemont housing scheme in St. Catherine, we rehabilitated. Well, that wasn't done. Anyway, rehabilitation of roads and drains, $60 million was spent, completed. Arcadia, that's a Gale housing scheme in St. Mary. Rehabilitation of roads and drains, $60 million spent. Corville Gardens Phase 1 in St. Andrew, $56.2 million spent. Rehabilitation of roads and drains. Frontier in St. Mary, rehabilitation of roads and drains, $55.8 million. The Bushy Park housing scheme in Clarendon, rehabilitation of roads and drains, $54.2 million. Portsmouth housing scheme in St. Catherine, rehabilitation of roads and drains, $60 million. The Ito Boreal in St. Mary, rehabilitation of roads and drains, $51.7 million completed. Hulruth Court in St. Andrew, roof repairs and painting of exterior walls, $60 million, practical completion. Madam Speaker, Bellevue Heights in St. Catherine, rehabilitation of roads and drains. Hague Housing Scheme in Trelawney, rehabilitation of roads and drains. Corville Gardens Phase 2, rehabilitation of drains, $60 million. The Preddy Housing Scheme in Clarendon, rehabilitation of roads and drains, $49 million. Seville Housing Scheme in St. Anne, rehabilitation of roads and drains, $49 million. And Culloden Housing Scheme in Westmoreland, rehabilitation of drains, $49 million completed. Madam Speaker, it amazed me when people say nothing is happening. If I were to go through and really list everything, we would be here until, 2 or 3 days. So, Madam Speaker, the NHT in 2019 introduced a program to rehabilitate identified police stations within a 10-mile radius of NHT schemes, with the ultimate aim of improving security. A total of 11 police stations have been identified for rehabilitation thus far, of which 5 have been completed to date. $835 million of the $2 billion allocated has been spent. Madam Speaker, through the NHT's work with upgrading of infirmaries, it has identified the need for more supporting shelter services for vulnerable persons in Jamaica. The NHT will, in partnership with the Ministry of Local Government and Community Development, construct 14 homeless shelters on government lands across Jamaica. 14 homeless shelters. These shelters will vary in size and design based on needs assessment carried out by social workers and housing specialists to properly address the unique needs of the homeless, as well as genuine social cases identified by the Ministry of Health and Wellness. Madam Speaker, we also recognize that our wards of the state on attaining age 18 need assistance with accommodation over a 2 to 3 year period, while mentoring continues for them to achieve personal and career goals to lead independent lives. An assessment will therefore be done to determine the need in particular parishes, and NHT will look at the provision of appropriate housing solutions. Madam Speaker, currently, public sector workers enjoy a special benefit which allows for access to a home improvement loan from the NHT 10 years after the initial mortgage. For non-public sector workers, these contributors, the time to access the loan is 15 years. As more Jamaicans become homeowners, there has been an increased demand for home improvement financing. As a result, effective July 1st, 2024, the NHT will revise its home improvement loan policy to allow all contributors to access the home improvement loans up to $3.5 million after 10 years. Madam Speaker, the NHT is developing a new green energy initiative to be responsive to the climate change effects on dwellings. This new policy will have direct impact on the NHT's design of new structures, which will be optimized for natural cooling and cross-ventilation, rainwater harvesting, and solar energy. As of July 1, 2024, NHT contributors will now be able to access a new loan product, the Smart Energy Home Improvement Loan, to outfit their dwellings with any combination of solar panels and solar batteries, solar water heaters, and solar installations, other renewable energy technologies, windmills, hydropower, biomass, rainwater harvesting and storage to include water tanks and pumps. The asset must have a useful life that meets or exceeds the loan term. Contributors may access up to $1.5 million, two contributors being able to join and access $1.5 million each for the Green Energy Loan Improvement Loan at a rate of 5% with a payback period of up to 10 years. Madam Speaker, in the coming year, 2024 to 2025, the NHT will expand its home grants to include the installation of solar panel systems on the houses of public sector pensioners at a maximum of $1.5 million each. The program will target 30 of these pensioners per parish each year for the next 3 years. Beneficiaries will be selected at random after being stratified by the parish and after satisfaction of the following criteria. At the point of retirement, the pensioner was earning less than $30,000 per week at that time, must be a homeowner, and this includes owners of non-NHT constructed houses, must be 60 years and older, and must have already installed these items. Preference will be given to pensioners who live in areas with unreliable, irregular electricity supply, and this grant will enable them to reduce their utility bill and reduce environmental impact. Madam Speaker, the NHT will develop one-bedroom apartment complexes, particularly within or near urban centers, as starter homes. These apartments will be made available to contributors via sale agreement with an optional buyback clause. The buyback clause will give mortgagors the option to sell the property back to the NHT after a determined time. The trust may repurchase the unit for sale to its contributors. The mortgagors who sell their unit to the NHT under this arrangement will be allowed to access a new benefit from the NHT in full towards the acquisition of a new home. This model will be an attractive dwelling arrangement for single dwellers and young couples who do not wish to forfeit an NHT first-time homeowners benefit in order to secure stable housing. Units that are currently under construction at Vineyard Town and Howard Avenue in St. Andrew, that is 264 one-bedroom units, will be sold. There's a construction there, I'll tell you. An additional 300 units at Barracks Road in Montego Bay are also earmarked and will be targeted to workers in the tourism, BPO, and security sectors. So, Madam Speaker, again, a government that is listening and finding creative solutions. So there are a lot of young people, Madam Speaker. And, Madam Speaker, I went to open a BPO facility in Montego Bay, and a young lady came to me and raised this issue that, she can't afford housing. And she doesn't want to stretch herself to buy a house for which she would then be deprived of her future benefit when she's really in a position to do it. What this does, Madam Speaker, it allows younger persons to enter the housing market at an early stage, enter the housing market, acquire a property, and then when they are at a better stage in life, they can sell the property back to the NHT and still get access to their full benefit. Madam Speaker, what this is going to do, it is going to incentivize private developers to come into that market to build these kind of starter home units, to get young people
on the property ladder,
to invest in them, knowing that they can always come out of the property, save their equity, get their benefit, and move to a better property. So we are targeting those young people who are just starting out. A lot of young people getting work in the BPO sector, they are straddled with rent. They would really want to be able, instead of paying rent, to make that investment in a mortgage towards the equity in a property that they can then use to further improve their equity holding in another property. So, Madam Speaker, this is, I believe, a big move for home ownership for young people. It is a big move to incentivize construction in this area of the market. And just to repeat, we're going to start this off with units that are under construction in the vineyards, in Vineyard Town, at the Howard Avenue development in St. Andrew. There are 264 one-bedroom units there. I broke ground there myself. And 330 units that are going to be constructed at Barracks Road in Montego Bay. So, Madam Speaker, this is a big move for housing in Jamaica. Madam Speaker, the program model and types of solutions under the NHT's Urban Renewal Program have evolved from its predecessor, the Inner City Housing Program. The Trust is now producing mainly low-rise, single and multifamily units with open space, a design change, Madam Speaker, that has addressed some of the issues identified with the previous program. Madam Speaker, the NHT is now in a position to increase the output of low-income housing solutions under the Urban Renewal Program and will commit an initial $9 billion in 2024-2025 with an additional annual allocation going forward. The program will be rolled out beyond Kingston and St. Andrew with areas such as Russia, and Grange Hill in Westmoreland, Maypen, Clarendon, Norwood, Glendevon, and flankers in St. James, and parts of Spanish Town, St. Catherine, are under consideration. Areas within the corporate area under consideration include the Barbican Road, Ligony area, Cassia Park, Cassava Peace, and Red Hills Road. So, Madam Speaker, this program is a different program from the smaller program that will be undertaken by the HAJ. This program will have $9 billion allocated in the first year, and will look to take on some bigger communities now, like Russia in Westmoreland, where instead of building tens of houses, 20 or 30 houses, you're going to be looking at 50 to 100 houses to have transformation in the area. So this is a different program. The targeting of the program will be done by the Nht themselves based upon their surveys and so forth. Of course, MPs can always write to the Nht and recommend the areas. Madam Speaker, in recognition of the housing needs of various workers and to support national efforts to attract and retain talent in strategic fields, the Nht will develop housing targeted to workers in strategic areas in health, security, education, and tourism, where employers and companies in these sectors own lands in close proximity to their place of employment. The Nht will partner with them to construct housing. The Nht will also reserve units in these select housing developments for sale or lease directly to these companies, who will then make them available to their employees. So, Madam Speaker, the Nht has been directed to actually now seek out partnerships with hotels, with BPOs, with other companies that are having mass employment. In the same way that we have partnerships with some of the public sector unions, that we will now have partnerships with some of these large companies where employment for their work, where housing for their workers is a critical challenge. Madam Speaker, based on the Nht's selection system, the longer you contribute, the greater your chance of selection for a scheme unit. Consequently, older contributors are the ones mainly selected for Nht units. The Trust is cognizant of some of the indirect consequences of this policy and its direct impact on specific groups, particularly contributors below the age of 35. The Trust's data suggests that this group is underrepresented in a scheme selection, even when factoring for other affordability and accessibility levers such as intergenerational and parent-assisted mortgages, which take into account the points of the older applicants. To address this, the Nht will reserve up to 10% of the housing solutions in the current housing plan for under 35-year-old contributors. 10% of our current housing plans will go to under 35-year-old contributors. Over the next 5 years, this will result in approximately 4,300 housing solutions being available at 100% financing up to $15 million, subject to affordability levels. Madam Speaker, this policy represents another wealth creation initiative of the government targeted towards youth. Madam Speaker, the Nht is mindful of the difficulties that micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises and charitable entities have faced in recent times, particularly with adverse effects of the pandemic. To support the recovery of these entities and encourage their regularization during the coming year, the NHT will offer relief from interest and penalties on outstanding contributions. As at the 31st of December 2023, a total of $6.78 billion in contributions and interest was outstanding from these institutions, with charitable organizations accounting for $129 million. In respect of charitable institutions and MSMEs with 50 or fewer employees and annual revenues less than $425 million, the NHT will offer a contribution amnesty as follows. 1. For all contributions settled by September 30th, 2024, the NHT will waive the penalty interest on employee and employer contributions, as well as offer a 20% discount on outstanding employer contribution sums. For all contributions settled between October 1 and December 31st, 2024, the NHT will waive all penalty interest on employee and employer's contribution. And for all contributions settled between January and March 2025, the NHT will only waive penalty interest on employer contributions only.